Okay, I am filling in for Nancy only because
now.
Nancy and I have lunch. We live fairly close to each other. We have lunch every once in a while together. And when she called and said, this okay? Okay, she called me and said she was not able to come. And, I said, well, give me the material. We'll find someone to do it. And then I didn't find anyone to do it because we kept hoping that Nancy would be here, but of course she isn't. At any rate, the talk that she gives is about collecting papers, the important papers that you have to put together so either when you're in trouble or you reach your demise, people know where to find things and what to do. It's not a very exciting topic, but it's one that you really have to take care of. And she entitled this, "Where Are My Important Papers?" or "Winging It Is Not a Plan." And she would say, I'm quoting from what she has written, the answer for most people is, I'm not sure where my papers are. I need to gather them and put them all in one place. And during her working career, Nancy had the great good fortune to meet a man named Marty Kuritz, K-U-R-I-T-Z, anyway. He had developed a book called the Beneficiary Book, and it helps people gather all their important papers in one place and either in a written form or technology or whatever works for you. Unfortunately, Nancy has looked and looked and cannot find the book anymore. It's out of print, but what she has done is to put together a checklist, which you have in front of you. And we'll kind of go through it quickly. This is not going to be the length of a speech that Nancy would have given, because I don't know much about this topic. What I'm hoping is that there's some of you out here who have done this, have put it together, or who help others in your professional career do this kind of thing. And we'll all kind of go through it together. Well, there's one thing I wanted to tell you about a woman who has begun to do this, and this might be helpful. She went to the doctor, and after an examination, he said, I've got some bad news. You have cancer, and you better put your affairs in order. The woman, of course, was shocked, but she managed to collect herself and walk into the waiting room where her daughter had been waiting to talk with her. Well, daughter, we women celebrate when things are good, and we celebrate when things don't go so well. In this case, things aren't well. I have cancer. So let's go to the club and let's have a martini. After three or four martinis, the two were feeling a little less somber. There were some laughs and a few more martinis. They were eventually approached by some of the women's old friends who were curious as to what the two were celebrating. The woman told her friends they were bringing to her impending end, I've been diagnosed with AIDS. The friends were aghast. They gave the woman their condolences and beat a hasty retreat. After the friends left, the woman's daughter looked over and whispered, Mama, I thought you said you were dying of cancer. You just told your friends you were dying of AIDS. Why did you do that? Because I don't want any of those bitches sleeping with your father after I'm dead. Sue for that. She said, let's lighten this up a little. So, here, you have the list in front of you, and we'll just go through it quickly. And as I say, some of you may have already done this. I've done a little bit of it with my husband, but where I file things is not exactly where he files things. So we have to do this with a little more intensity. Okay, find this over here. Oh, this is the table of contents of the book that Nancy was going to present to you. And this goes into a little bit more detail. For example, one of the things that I'm not going to bring up again because I don't know about all of this is, for example, many of us have children. Many of us do not. It's important for those people who do not have someone designated to follow up. Find someone. a cousin, an aunt, a lawyer, somebody who can go through this when you put it all together and know where you have put things. Another thing is, if you have children who are incapacitated and you are a caregiver, it's important to have somewhere who is going to be the caregiver when you cannot. Okay, let's get a file cabinet, let's get a notebook, stick your birth certificate in it, who's your emergency contact. Probably many of you have already designated a power of attorney. Who is that person? Where can they find your social security card? Where can they find your marriage certificate, if you're divorced, certificates, all these important things. And while we can, I think it's important to go down the list. It's boring, but something may occur to you that you have forgotten to put in your folder. Your driver's license, your passport.
Now those would be photocopies, because you have to carry your driver's license with you.
To be sure, to be sure. Thank you, I appreciate that. Have you put together a living will? This is very important. And clearly more important than that is your will. Where is your estate going to go? To whom? The DNR, I just heard a speech about this recently. Be really careful about what you're saying in the do not resuscitate, and be sure it is in a place where someone's going to find it quickly. Some people, yes, Cindy.
Many states now for the DNR have a ID. It's usually a wristband or a band around your neck. There can be a DNR statement. You can get them. Some states say you may have only the neck. Connecticut, for example, will not accept a wristband. So check your state. Make sure you know. But that is a clear thing that any EMT is looking for.
Yes.
We have a DNR on our refrigerator with a magnet. And that's obvious and easy way. And it's in some coal fire color, coal fire green.
Anybody else have interesting places to put this? Yeah.
Oh, I don't know about that. No, someone, a lawyer in New Hampshire said, even if you call the EMTs, no matter what you say, they're still going to try to resuscitate you.
Right.
So they say, don't call the EMTs.
Right, that's true.
What do you call?
I don't know a lot about this, is why I'm relying on some of the rest of you to help me out with this. I don't know the answer to that question.
In response to all this that's been in the newspapers and whatever recently up in Vermont and New Hampshire, this one man said the easiest thing to do is have it tattooed on your chest.
Anybody have time? Yes, sir.
A number of states are developing a document called the POLST, P-O-L-S-T. Some have already done it, some are in the process of it. This is for people who have a terminal illness, expected to die within 6 months. And it's standardized and it will prevent the EMTs from trying to resuscitate you. So if your state has one of those, that is a very useful thing to know about, but it's just for people who have a terminal illness the last 6 months. It's not for everybody.
Let me ask a question, if I get to ask questions too. In order to make decisions about some of these things, and states who, the states differ, do we go to our attorney? Do we go to our medical personnel?
Attorney.
If you have a personal physician, the nurse should be able to tell you about the status of things in your particular state.
Okay.
And I'm sure you could get information from your primary health care provider.
Excuse me, Kim?
I would agree with the primary health provider. My sister is dying very soon, and she had to fill out this form, a version of the form in New York State, and she found that some of the questions were very difficult to understand the meaning, and she went through it phrase by phrase with the doctor who could say, oh, if you sign that, they're going to bring you back in case of something. You know, you have to really understand the language, which is not always easy. So you should have a professional person who can interpret. Some of them are quite complex. It was a many questions she had to answer.